Hey everybody, Michael Fabiano here with Sports Illustrated Fantasy, and it's that time of the week again. We are looking ahead to week 4, which means looking at the waiver wire. So let's bring in our pal Jen Piacenti to talk about some of the best players to add this week. Jen, let's start off with the quarterback position and a player who looked very good in Los Angeles.
Yeah, these Jacksonville Jaguars, they are frisky, looking much better under Doug Peterson. And guess what? Trevor Lawrence is available in 42% of fantasy football leagues. He finished the Sunday as the QB4 and with a 115.5 passer rating. That was third best for the week. He's the QB10 on the season with the 7th best completion rate. Look, this guy was one of the top prospects of all time coming out at the quarterback position, and it looks like maybe he's found his groove. I'm also looking at, if you're in a more deep league and you need someone that is more widely available on the wire, Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but after seeing his connection with Amari Cooper, I think we might be able to feel a little more encouraged. Listen, he plays clean football. He's thrown only 1 pick in 102 pass attempts, and Atlanta has allowed the 5th most passing yards, the 2nd most passing touchdowns, and an average of 19 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. So if you're still streaming, waiting for Dak to come back at full strength, you're looking for a replacement for Trey Lance, or even Mac Jones, or just to pick up for the bye weeks, you could consider Jacoby Brissett.
Hey, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, also some good options. And if you're really desperate, Geno Smith's got the Lions this week. All right, let's move on to the running back position. And Jen, not 1, not 2, but 3 backups could play much bigger roles this week. Let's talk about those players.
Yeah, this is why we tell you to pick up the handcuffs. And the first one I'm going to talk about today is Jamal Williams, who is making a splash in Detroit. We loved him on Hard Knocks, and now he's looking great on our fantasy teams. Listen, he's already gotten the goal line role. He has 4 touchdowns to DeAndre Swift's single touchdown, and he's playing 30.7% of the snaps as compared to Swift's 23%. Well, now we know that Swift is banged up. He will likely miss this week with a shoulder injury added to his already existing ankle injury. And guess what? They get Seattle this week, who has surrendered the 2nd most rushing yards to opposing running backs this year. And if you're in a deeper league, you may even want to consider Craig Reynolds, because that's how bad the Seattle run defense is. Now, another guy that, this one hurt a little bit, okay? We all started David Montgomery in our lineups this week, right? Because we knew that Houston run defense, they are absolutely atrocious. And our process was right. Unfortunately, he went out early with an ankle injury, and that left the door open for Khalil Herbert, who came in and had a career day, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns on 22 touches. And interestingly, he ran 67% of the routes after Monty left the game, which was the 3rd most amongst running backs. And guess what? He gets the Giants this week, and we saw what Tony Pollard and Zeke did to them. They have now surrendered the 3rd most rushing yards to opposing running backs on the season. And then finally, of course, if you have Dalvin Cook, that shoulder injury is bothering him again. And we know about Alexander Mattison. We know how good he is. By the way, I have to sing my Hamilton song here. Alexander Mattison, there's 100 yards he hasn't run. Just you wait, just you wait. It's going to be caught in your head from now on. I'm really, really sorry. I had to do it. But every time he goes in place of Dalvin Cook, he averages 20 points per game. So you got to get Madison. He is available in quite a few leagues. He's practically a standalone even if you don't have Cook.
I'm kind of moved here. That was beautiful, Jen Piacenti. Oh my gosh. You're almost as good a singer as you are a fantasy and betting analyst. Oof, let me catch my breath. That was pretty good. All right, let's move on to the wide receivers. And Zay Jones, who no one drafted and no one really talked about after he signed with the Jaguars, is suddenly a guy that we can use in fantasy. Let's talk about him.
Oh, yeah, and he's available on all your waiver wires because, I'd love to talk about Chris Olave, but he is not so widely available. Obviously, Chris Olave is somebody you want to put your claims in for, but Zay Jones finishes the wide receiver 5 this week. He saw 11 targets, 10 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown, and he has a 22.6% target share on the season. Listen, Christian Kirk is right now the wide receiver 6 on the season. He's still got the lion's share, but guess what? It looks like this Jacksonville passing offense has plenty to go around, and the wide receiver 2 is going to give you plenty of fantasy goodness. And then, of course, we got Romeo Dubs, and we are calling him Dubs because he got Green Bay the dub on Sunday. He played 61% of snaps, so Lazard was still playing in the upwards of 90s. He's still on the field more often, but Dubs was the guy that Rodgers was looking for. 8 passes he caught, 73 yards, and a touchdown, and he's available in 75% of fantasy football leagues. There are so many wide receivers I love this week. Please check out the article at si.com/fantasy because there's a lot of goodness on the waiver wire.
Yeah, some other guys, Isaiah McKenzie against the Ravens. That's a good ad. Greg Dortch, who's been unbelievable for the first 3 weeks. Just keep in mind, Hurricane Ian could affect that game in Carolina. Michael Gallup is going to be back very soon. And if you're in a deeper league, Sterling Shepard got hurt on Monday night. Richie James might be the ad, not Kenny Galladay. I mean, that guy has absolutely disappeared. All right, finally, let's talk tight ends because a lot of people need help at this position, Jen.
All right, David Njoku, and I know you loved David Njoku coming into the season, and you totally got paid off if you started him in your lineups on Thursday night. 9 catches for 89 yards and a score. And what's exciting about David Njoku is he plays 90% of the snaps, so he's constantly on the field and should offer you some sort of a solid floor. He's run the 4th most routes among tight ends, and he's seen the 4th most targets, tied with our next guy, Tyler Conklin and Travis Kelce. So speaking of Tyler Conklin, he led all Jets receivers on Sunday, and he's now finished with double-digit PPR points in each game of the season. He's run 85 routes this year, which is tied for 2nd with Travis Kelce. And remember, the Jets lead the league in passing attempts with 155. Now, of course, Zach Wilson may be coming back this week. That's the expectation. This could change a little bit, but it's kind of hard to ignore how they've been using Tyler Conklin.
It's amazing. Tyler Conklin's in the top 3 in catches and targets among tight ends after 3 weeks. Hopefully Zach Wilson keeps throwing him the football. Jen, you're the best. Thank you as always. And hey, folks, not only checking out Sports Illustrated for your fantasy information, that's a pretty smart move, but how about our betting as well? On Monday night, Jen and I went 6 out of 7 in player props. We're here to win you some dough in addition to winning some fantasy championship. So make sure you check out si.com/fantasy and si.com/betting, and make sure you hit the subscribe button on that YouTube page.